All right, welcome back. On this one, I'm going to show you guys how I put a TCS WOW diesel speaker and decoder into a Kato RSC-2. All right, well, first things first, I need to make sure that this bad boy runs. So I've got the Kato RSC-2 C-board. It was a gift from my dad, and got it hooked up on my test track. Normally, this is a programming track, but I've currently got a second set of wires hooked up to this old guy that has been around since I was a kid. That thing's got to be 30 plus years old. Anyway, that still works. So let's see if this runs. To my knowledge, this may never have been run before. Oh man, what a smooth runner. That's just DC power, y'all. That is a smooth runner already. Let's see how it works the other way. Yeah. I'm just barely giving it power. Man, what a nice locomotive. This thing is so old that it's still shipped from the factory with the old horn hook couplers on there. Nothing wrong with that, but I will upgrade that to KDs. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Very cool. Well, next, now that I know it runs, we'll do another one of these. I looked online. This one doesn't look to be too complicated. Some of them require some milling and things like that of metal frames, and I'm not set up to do that. But this one looked like I think I'll be able to handle it myself. So we're gonna try another one. More to come. So as you can see, I've got the shell off and the old board out. Won't be needing that anymore. The instructions say this looks like this metal weight is going to have to come out. Looks like there's a screw down in there to get that out of there. And then there's a light tube there that needs to be shortened because the speaker will mount back in here. Looking at the board itself, kind of hit a little bit of something unexpected. These green connectors that are here, I think what I need to do, gosh, you can see how small it is by how big my hand is hit the back here with solder, and then I should be able to lift these green connectors right off, because I'm using a kit that's not necessarily designed for this model, and these are mostly for LEDs. Also, I think there's track connector and a motor connector. This is track, that's motor. Neither of those things exist on this locomotive. I'll be soldering directly to the board, so I think I just need to lift those off and continue to follow the instructions. It just it didn't mention that you'd have to remove those green connectors, so that's a little bit of a snag. No big deal, I can do that, and I'll do that. And these motor leads need to be trimmed, and then I need to add wires to there. There's a common on both sides. There's one here and one over there for track pickups. So I'll need to solder, like a Y, one wire coming off, and then split into two on both sides for the track pickups. The motor pickups are there. And if I look on the board, these things are, like I said in the other video, these are kind of idiot proof, kind of. I'm an idiot, so maybe we'll see how idiot proof they are. The Keep Alive gets soldered here, the blue and the black. The other install I did, the Keep Alive was already on the board, so that's a little bit different. In this one, it's its own component here. So there's a black and a blue wire, so that's pretty self-explanatory. I think I've got the pickup straight. Speakers obviously connect back here where it says SPKR for speaker. And I'll figure out the LEDs. I may not have the right kind. or I may, but I'll probably have to play with the polarity because there's looks like a surface mount LED or something that has red and green wires. That's not what I have. I have the big 3mm ones. There is a positive and a negative. I'm just gonna have to probably play around with which should be which on this board. I'm not sure if that's the positive or that's the positive. I really don't know. Actually, that's the track connector. This one up here is LED, but I don't know which of the two spots in there is which. But that's pretty easy to mess around with and flip if you need to. So always an adventure. It's only my second time doing one of these, so I still don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going for it. So I'll work on getting these green things off and then pick back up from there. Okay, we're back. I got these little green clips that were on the board off. Basically just came around underneath on the other side of the board with the fine tip of the iron, melted the solder that was there, then used the desoldering tool, this guy right there, to pull it off. Kind of sucks it off there. And then once I had done, each of those green clips had 2 wires. Once I had done that, they lifted off fairly easily. Just kind of worked them very gently with some pliers, and they came out. So we are good to go. Now the board looks like it does in the instructions. So moving on. And per the instructions, the engine leads there and there needed to be clipped. And I will now solder on the orange and gray wires, which will go to the engine leads on the board, and keep it totally separate from the common down here that runs down both sides. That'll be the track pickup directly from there to the board, and then out the board to the engine leads. So a little bit different with the decoder in here. All right, quick little in progress here. I've got the 2 engine leads soldered on and protect the joint with some shrink wrap, and a little change of plans. Since this whole thing is a common, rather than complicate things with 1 wire off and then split it for the 2 leads from each side, I'll just solder 2 wires. One here, a little bit of solder there, and did the same thing on the other side. There's 2 blobs of solder over there too. So I'll just solder to that for the track pickups. More to come. All right, got all the track pickups on those rails on the side of the locomotive on each side. So got the motor leads in and 2 track pickups in. So next I'll actually put the board on and start making connections with these wires to the board. Okay, we're back, making progress. Got the 2 motor leads hooked to the motherboard there. That's in orange and gray, and then the red and black track pickups are all done. My solder joints are not pretty, but I think they'll work. I've also started moving towards the body here, and there was a weight here in the rear of the shell, similar to what you see up there in front of the cab. That had to come out. There was a light tube situated inside of that had to come out and be trimmed. So that's what I've done here. That's what's left of the light tube. So I'm gonna probably put a little dab of CA on the edge of that, stick that right in the hole, probably work my way backwards. So it's gonna go LED, at least run the wires and have the LED mounted. And then the speaker will kind of sit underneath where the fan is. And then behind that, this pack of 4 capacitors that makes up the Keep Alive. So that'll go next. And there should be room, according to the instructions, for all of that stuff to fit right behind the board. So Keep Alive will be up in the shell here and kind of sit in this space. The speaker will be next, and then the LED, and I'll probably have the wires come under this way and back to the board. So that's where we are. Oh, one other note, I did have to, there was a tab inside the shell here, right there, that the weight sat in. I had to get in there with sprue nippers and nip that off to make room for everything. So that's where we are, continuing to move forward. Oh, one other thing, I forgot. I took the speaker apart and wired the leads to that, so that's ready to go now as well. Well, y'all, I thought before I went much farther, you know, give it a test. There's no speaker, there's no keep alive, and there's no lights, obviously. But with the track pickups in and the motor leads installed on the board and the board dropped in, sorry, the decoder dropped in on the board, it should work. I'm on address 3. Just giving it some juice. Drum roll. Anything? More juice? Oh, there we go. All right. Well, that's a good sign. And come back the other way, please. Always an adventure. I don't pretend to be any kind of expert on this. This is my second DCC sound install. It looks like we're mechanically working fine. Probably need to lube it while I've got the top off, and I can hear a little something. I don't think it's any wires touching anything that's moving, but I'll double check for that as well. Cool. All right. On to the keep alive speaker and lights. I wonder if I could get any other tools out. I'm starting to run out of room to work. Yeah, kind of wires everywhere, but everything's connected. So I dropped the decoder back on the board, and we'll put it on the test track here, and hopefully everything's working. All right, we are on the track, and seems like the sound's working good. Got it programmed for the 244 Alco engine, which is, I believe, the prime mover for this this road switcher. The front headlight works when it's forward. If it's a reverse, rear headlight comes on. Sounds good. Just give it a little juice. Everything's kind of loose and just sitting there, so I don't want to do too much running here. You hear it start to throttle up, and I don't want to pull any wires out, so I'll just stop there. Come back in reverse. Again, I don't want to pull any wires, so I'm being very gentle. But yeah, seems like all the connections are good. Got everything wired. The LEDs seem to be working correctly, which was a little bit of a stumbling block for me last time. So I think I got the polarity straight this time, and you know, you work through these things, you learn how to do it, you know, a little bit better each time, and that's what it's all about. So now I need to stuff all that stuff back in the shell and put the locomotive back together. I just wanted to make sure electrically we were in good shape before I did that. So I'll come back after I've done all that. One other quick note here: I had reversed the screw in the first video where I showed it. I had it actually over on this side, and that is wrong, because having it over here shifts the whole unit towards the front of the train that way, but just enough that makes the fit a little bit tight. So I went back at the instructions, and sure enough, I'd switched it. So now the screw's in the front and the tape is back here, and that allows this thing to shift forward by, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. Also, a tip I picked up from the DCC guy: this screw, I stuck one of those red ceramic washers that you use to raise and lower coupler height that goes under the trucks. I stuck one there under the screw to prevent any inadvertent shorts, because there's some pads right there next to that screw. So that was a really good tip I saw in one of his videos. Learned a ton watching him, y'all. If you know, he writes for Model Railroader, and he has a YouTube channel that's really quite good if you're interested in learning how to do this stuff. So I recommend that. Pick that tip up from him. Anyway, I just wanted to show that I had reversed that, so fixed it. Well, it was a couple of nights work, kind of tinkering, stuffing everything into the shell at the end was probably the hardest part. But anyway, I'm happy with that. Need to do some details, and thanks for watching.